So today you're going to get excited because I know you love it when I do desserts. I've actually got not one, but two recipes for you. So we're doing some desserts today. But before we get to that, a couple little housekeeping things. Number one, please, please, please let me know in the comments section where you're watching from, because I always love to know where you are in the world. So I can also give some shout outs to some of you. It's wonderful to see everybody and see how I'm getting people viewing from all over the place. And then the other thing is, if you have any questions, whether it's about the recipe, whether it's about nutrition, if there's anything that you want to know, this is your half hour with me. So please put that in the comment section as well, so I can make some time after we watch the video to get to those questions. All right, so as I said, today we've got not one, but two recipes. And part of the reason that I did two was first because they're both pretty quick and they're pretty easy. And also because I was very excited because I'm using some new products that we have here in North America, which are from our new Herbalife V product line. Now, I know many of you are not in North America, but don't tune out because I'm going to give you some options for using some of our other products if you don't have the Herbalife V products available to you. So stay tuned. But the Herbalife V products, we are very excited about them. These are actually certified vegan. They are certified non-GMO and they're certified organic. And we've got, a number of products. I'm going to use two of them today in the recipe. One is a shake mix, and we have some options there. So I'm hoping that you're going to enjoy watching these videos. They've got really nice nutritional profile, which I will get to after we watch the video. And, desserts are fine. I mean, there's something that, you want to work into your day on occasion because they taste good and we all like to have something sweet once in a while. But as long as you're going to do it, why not try to make it as nutritious as you possibly can? And so the way that you do that, one way that you can do that is to incorporate some of our wonderful products so that you can maybe boost the protein content, or maybe you can reduce the fat content and the calorie content. Maybe there's some additional vitamins and minerals that go in there. So there's lots of different ways to incorporate our products to revamp recipes to make them healthier. And one of the things that I want you to notice as you watch what I'm doing is that I'm really taking recipes that are fairly standard. One's a tofu chocolate mousse, which these recipes have been floating around on the internet for years, but they tend to, not necessarily have as much nutrition in them as they could. So I boosted that up. The other one was one that I just kind of dreamed up on my own, which is a dessert hummus that's pumpkin flavor. And we're going to make that one kind of chai spice. So I think that's fine. And since my voice is getting really scratchy, it's probably a good time. Let's go to the video. Let's watch the recipes for the tofu chocolate mousse, the chai spice pumpkin dessert hummus. And when the video is over, don't go away because I want to give those shout outs. And I also want to give you that nutrition information for the two recipes. Okay, so let's go to video. Okay, friends, so as I said, we're going to do two recipes today because they're both simple and they're easy and they're quick. So why not make two? You get two for the price of one today. And as I mentioned, we're going to be using our Herbalife V products in these recipes, but don't worry if you don't have them. I'm going to give you some substitutes that you can use instead. All right, so the first one we're going to do is a tofu chocolate mousse. And if you've ever had chocolate mousse, it's very chocolatey, it's light, it's rich because it has a lot of cream in it. And so in this recipe, tofu actually stands in for the cream, surprisingly. We're using silken tofu. It's really important. There's no substitute for the tofu in this one because silken tofu is very smooth and it's going to give us this nice, smooth, creamy texture that we're after. No cream whatsoever. All right, so let's start. We're going to use the blender for this one. So I've got this is about a 14-ounce block of silken tofu. I've drained the water off of it. They're usually packed in water. Excuse me, and then just patted it dry. So that's going to go into the blender. And then for this wonderful flavor, I'm going to use 2 scoops of our Herbalife V plant-based protein shake. This is the chocolate flavor. If you don't have that product, then what you can use instead, the best substitute I found for this is to use about 1.5 scoops of Rebuild Strength, the chocolate flavor. Although I think that there's a lot of variations you could do on this recipe, honestly, but that would be my first choice. Then I'm going to put in 2 scoops of protein drink mix, the chocolate flavor. So we got a lot of chocolate going on. This is why I said I think there's a lot of variations you could do. You could use the Rebuild Strength chocolate in the protein drink mix. You could use, I think, Formula 1 and vanilla protein drink mix and turn it into something that's not even chocolate. I think you could do a lot with this one. That's what we're doing. All right, so let's recap. So we've got 2 scoops Herbalife V protein shake chocolate, or 1.5 scoops of Rebuild. We've got our block of tofu, 2 scoops of protein drink mix. Now I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of dark cocoa powder, because you can never have too much chocolate in a chocolate dessert. And then this one does need a little bit of extra sweetness. So I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of agave syrup. And if you don't want to use agave, you can use honey, you can use maple syrup. You can really use any sweetener. I'm going to move this over here so our overhead camera can see what we're doing. And then I'm using a teaspoon of vanilla. That's it. And this is just going to get blended. What we're going to need to do while we blend it is just stop it periodically to scrape it down a little bit, but this goes together super quick. So here we go. All right. Okay, so it's nice and thick. It's also nice and fluffy, but it's not quite blended. So you just have to stop and just scrape it down and stir any of the dry powder. That would be good. I'm going to grab my plate back so I have a place to put this. Okay, and then we're just going to blend this a little bit longer. I told you this was fast. That is beautiful. What usually you can tell this is done because you start to get kind of that vortex that goes on in your blender. It's definitely done. Let me move this out of the way because I want you to see what the texture is like. This is so beautiful. This makes 4 servings, so I'm going to put this into these 4 ramekins, and I just want you to see it's so beautiful. It's fluffy. It's chocolatey. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So what you'll want to do is just divide this up among your 4 dishes, and then it's probably good to refrigerate this maybe for an hour or so. It'll stiffen it up a little bit, but I will tell you that it's certainly ready to eat, and I'm right there. I'm going to have a little bite and let you know how it is. All right, you get the idea. You don't have to watch me fill all these ramekins, but you will get 4 servings out of this. And as you can see, it's just this beautiful, fluffy, making such a mess here, this beautiful, fluffy chocolate texture. So once you've done this, then what you're going to want to do is, as I said, just cover each one with a little bit of plastic wrap and give it a chance to just put it in the refrigerator. But as I said, you can see that the texture now is perfect, even as it is. Look at this. This is just, it's beautiful. It's fluffy. It's amazing because it doesn't taste like tofu. If you're somebody who's not fond of tofu, you won't even really know it's there. It's just out of this world. So that's our first one. Please try this one because it's a lot of fun. And as I said, I think you've got some good possibilities. All right, so we're going to move that one out of the way. And now we are going to make, also with our Herbalife V, we are going to make, there we go, some chai spiced pumpkin dessert hummus. Now, you may maybe seen, I've made dessert hummus before. I've done a chocolate one that I did with Rebuild. And I love the idea of doing a dessert hummus because I think what it does is it gives you just a fun option for dessert, because you can use these, you can dip fruit into them, and it's just kind of fun and it's healthy, and or you can use it just for a snack. All right, so hummus, if you've made it before or if you've eaten it, you know that it's usually made with garbanzo beans. We're going to use instead just a really mild white bean, because garbanzo beans are a little bit strong. And so this is a 15-ounce can, a standard can of white beans. I'm using cannellini beans. So cannellini are white beans. They've just been rinsed and drained. And those are going into the food processor. And then for the pumpkin, what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a half a cup of canned pumpkin. So for those of us who live here in the US, we're very used to buying canned pumpkin because we use it at Thanksgiving, make pies and stuff. So if you look for this in the store, just be sure it's just canned pumpkin and not pumpkin pie filling, because pumpkin pie filling has a lot of other stuff in it. I love to keep canned pumpkin around because it's delicious in your Formula One shakes. If you put just a quarter of a cup of canned pumpkin, which adds very few calories, by the way, you get all your vitamin A for the whole day, which is amazing. And you get a lot of fiber as well, not to mention all the wonderful flavor of the pumpkin, which is great. So that's going in there. So that's going to make our pumpkin hummus. Now I'm going to put in 4 scoops of the Herbalife V plant-based protein shake. This is what they call the classic flavor, which is vanilla. So if you don't have this, then what you'll want to use is 5 scoops of any flavor of Formula One. So I think vanilla would be an obvious choice. I think dulce de leche would be really good. I think pralines and cream would be really good in this one. So you can experiment a little bit. All right, so 4 scoops of the Herbalife V plant-based protein shake, the classic, or 5 scoops of Formula One. Then I'm going to put in 2 scoops of the of our active fiber complex. This is the apple flavor, because apples and pumpkin go so well together, and why not a little extra fiber? That's not going to hurt. I'm also putting in 2 teaspoons of our herbal tea concentrate, the chai flavor, and that's going to add the spice. Now, if you don't have that particular flavor of tea, then just use 2 teaspoons of sweet spices. So you can mix together, you know, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, whatever you want, cloves. Chai traditionally has cardamom and also a little bit of white pepper, so you can kind of play around with your spice mix if you want to. And then lastly, this does need a little bit of additional sweetness. So I've got 4 tablespoons of agave, just like I used in the other recipe. You can use honey if you want to. You can use any sweetener you want to. You can adjust it if you want. But I felt that was just about right. We're going to get 8 servings out of this, so it's not a huge amount of added sugar. And then the last thing this one's going to need is about, I'm going to say about 1/3 of a cup of water. I'm not going to put it all in. I'm going to hold back just a little bit, because you want this to be, you don't want it to be soupy. So you want it to be smooth, but you want to add only as much water as you absolutely have to. All right, so top goes on. We are going to turn this one on and blend this up. And just as we did before, it doesn't hurt to stop and just scrape everything down. This one right now doesn't look like it's going to need any additional water. I kind of like the texture as it is, at least as far as how thick it is. Not quite as smooth as I want it, but let's do that again. Okay, I think we're good. You know, hummus is never like super smooth. To me, this texture is just perfect. It's beautiful. I wish you could smell this, because I'm already getting this amazing aroma from the spices. Yeah, so I would say just about 1/3 of a cup of water. So those of you who do the metric system, that's about 80 milliliters. And there you go. And what I would normally do with this is serve it with some fruit to dip it. So I've got it here on my plate with just some beautiful fall apples. And this just makes a fantastic, as I said, a snack or a dessert. Well, it's nice because there's that little bit of apple flavor that I'm getting from the active fiber, which complements really nicely with the fresh apple. The spiciness from the chai tea is also, I'm double dipping. Spiciness from the chai tea is really delicious. This is so good. I can't tell you. And I know as we get closer to fall, we all start thinking about, pumpkin spice this and pumpkin spice that. But this is really a pumpkin spice recipe you should try. So, all right. So tofu chocolate mousse, chai spice pumpkin dessert hummus. Don't go away. I'm going to be right back because I'm going to tell you all the nutrition facts on these two amazing recipes. So don't go away. Okay, we are back, and I hope you enjoyed watching that. It's always fun for me to rewatch those videos because, when you have such wonderful products to work with, they just inspire me. I don't know. It's just always fun to come up with these new recipes for you. So I hope you enjoyed watching those. All right. So before we get to the nutrition information, which is amazing, a couple things. I want to give some shout outs, first of all, to those of you who are watching. And again, thank you everybody for taking time to join us. Harry is with us. He's from India. Harry, I've been to India once. I hope I can get back. Pilar is watching from New York. I was just there a few weeks ago visiting my son. Had a wonderful time. Eileen, I hope I'm saying that right, from Belgium. We have a possible invitation to go to Belgium. I've never been, so hope to be there sometime next year. Raquel's watching from Ecuador. I've been there twice. It's beautiful. I've had a wonderful time. And Ronald's watching from North France. Thank you, Ronald, for joining us. And on YouTube, I neglected to say that we're not just live on Facebook, but we're also live on YouTube. Patrick's watching also from Belgium. And Adam is watching us from Greece. And finally, we've got Jose from Mexico. So thank you for all of you for joining. This is really nice that you're here because I know it's been a little bit. We took a bit of a break, so it's nice to have you back. Okay, so let's get to the nutrition information on these. One thing I mentioned in the video is that if you get regular chocolate mousse, right when I say regular, just the usual recipe, it's loaded with cream. So it's full of fat, it's full of calories, and obviously is not going to have the protein that we're going to get from adding either the Herbalife V or adding the Rebuild Strength. So think about that when you listen to these numbers, because if you make this with the Herbalife V product, in that tofu mousse, 160 calories, that is not shabby for dessert. 15 grams of protein. When was the last time you had dessert with 15 grams of protein? And it's probably been a bit. 10 grams of carbohydrate, 5 grams of fat, and no fiber, just because there isn't really any source in those particular products, but that's okay because we pick up fiber other places. If you use a Rebuild Strength, it's almost the same. Instead of 160 calories, it's 165. Protein stays the same at 15 grams. Tiny bit more carbohydrate, 12 versus 10. A little bit less fat, 4 grams versus 5, but almost identical. So either way, as I said, you can do that mousse with the Herbalife V. You can do it with Rebuild Strength. I think both of these recipes would really be fun for those of you who have nutrition clubs. Just because they're fun and they're different. It's just a different way of presenting the products, which I think is really can be a really fun thing. Okay, now on the dessert hummus. The first time I made dessert hummus, I had a lot of people scratching their heads because they said, wait, I don't get this. I mean, hummus is savory and hummus is what you put on pita chips and vegetables. How am I going to eat this for dessert? But when you make it sweet, which you can, it's just great to be able to use those beans as a base because they're such a good source of protein, a good source of fiber, B vitamins, all kinds of nutritional benefits there. And then by adding the products to it, we just make it even better. So this one, again, if you're going to make it with the Herbalife V, I told you the serving size is about a quarter of a cup. So in that quarter cup, 100 calories, 8 grams of protein. That's really kind of the sweet spot when it comes to a simple snack. 15 grams of carbohydrate, 1 gram of fat, and 6 grams of fiber. So that's coming primarily, we added that active fiber complex. We also have, of course, the fiber that's coming from the beans. That's a lot of fiber to help you meet your goal of between 25 and 38 grams a day. So that's great. If instead you use the Formula One, again, it's very similar. Instead of 100 calories, it's 110. Instead of 8 grams of protein, it's 9. Little bit more carbohydrate, 19 grams. Fat stays the same at 1 gram, and actually a little bit more fiber with Formula One, 7 grams of fiber. So I think those are in pretty impressive numbers, if I do say so myself, considering that these are things that you might be eating for dessert or you might be eating for a snack. So let's see. So Victoria wants to know, can you use chickpeas? Victoria, you can. I mean, as I mentioned in the video, traditionally, hummus is made with chickpeas. The reason I chose not to use them is because the garbanzo beans are a little bit stronger in flavor, and so I wanted to use the mild white beans instead, because I didn't want the flavor of the chickpea to just kind of overwhelm. So you can try it. There's also something that we have here. I don't know where you are, Victoria. It's just called small white beans. I think they call them Great Northern or something, but they're really little. And so I think any small white bean would work. When I did the chocolate version with the rebuild strength, I used black beans, and that worked really great. So you can do that too. Mario wants to know, is there anything you can replace the tofu with? No. Actually, Mario, I don't know of anything, because the recipe really is, the tofu is the base for the mousse. I'd love to know why, is it just that you don't like tofu, in which case I would say try this, because it doesn't taste like tofu. It's just really there to hold everything together. It gives it that really wonderful fluffy texture. If it's soy, if it's a soy allergy or sensitivity, then you're probably stuck, I'm afraid. I can't think of anything else that would work, unless, I'm thinking out loud here, ricotta cheese might work. It might not be as smooth, but that might work. So that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. But I would encourage you, if you're so inclined, to try the tofu. Angela wants to know, what do you recommend dipping in the hummus? When I made it, Angela, what I liked best, I just used some fresh apples, because I had that apple flavor already going, because I had the active fiber complex in there. So that was really good. It's pretty stiff, so I think you want kind of firm fruit. So I think apples would be great. I think pears would be particularly good with that. You could also just use it as a spread. So you could, it is pretty sweet, but you could spread it on like even like a plain cracker or something, probably would work as well. But I think any type of fruit would be delicious. And then Lauren wants to know, what can we replace the other products with to keep it completely vegan? I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, Lauren. I think what you may be asking is, if you don't have the V products, is what can you replace it with? I'm not sure that I'm clear on that. These V products are the ones that are certified vegan, and so with the other products that we have, we don't have other ones that are strictly vegan, except for, I believe, the Herbalife Formula One Select, I think would be, which is pea, rice, and quinoa protein. So you could use that one probably in both recipes, and that might work. The flavor profile is going to be a little bit different, because the vanilla flavor in that one is a little bit milder. So you might want to have to, work a little bit with maybe the amount of sweetness that you use. The sugar that I use, considering how much sugar is typically in a dessert, it was significantly less. And remember that with the hummus, we had 8 servings, and with the tofu mousse, we had 4. So when you look at the total amount of sugar that was added on a per serving basis, it's really pretty small. So I don't get too worried about that. I know people sometimes are concerned about added sugars in the diet, but when you look at the amount that's in there versus the total amount of calories that you eat in the course of the day, and also if you look at the amount of sugar that would being a typical dessert, it's significantly less. So hopefully, Lauren, that answered your question. I hope that I understood that properly. I've already got another recipe in the works for when we see you next month. It's going to be a really wonderful late summer recipe because it's still summer. It still feels like summer here and probably will for a few more weeks. I don't know how it is where you are. So I will look forward to seeing all of you again. Thank you so, so much for joining. Thanks for spending your time here. I do hope that you got inspired to maybe play around the kitchen a little bit. I always try to give you options because cooking should never be a chore. Cooking it to me is it's an artistic endeavor and it's creative and it should be fun. And it's always, and I just feel like there's never really any huge mistakes. And so try them out, play around, try different flavors of Formula One, as I said in some of the recipes, and see how they work out for you. And let us know. Until then, I will see you soon next month. Take care, and I'll see you all in September.